think we need to click on the body.
Watson, imagine the victim laid down there on the ground.
Oh. She's got a bag. In that bag.
Her left hand, it is closed around a bag of pastils.
Bag of pastils? What? Is it wrong that I don't know what they are?
Her right hand, it is bloody, as is her wrist.
That's the meaning that she grabbed her neck after someone cut it.
The ground is muddy. The throat, there is but one clean cut, slightly slanted downwards. Her knees and dress, they are clean.
Okay, that's... This one's not too difficult. So, knees and the bottom of the dress at the front are clean, even though the ground is dirty, meaning that she didn't struggle. Yeah, she must have not struggled on the ground. She was killed standing up. Standing at the moment of the mortal blow. I'd say that's about right. Wound in the neck is clean, starting from the right and slightly oblique and descending. Shing. So right-handed. There was but one superficial wound to the neck. There was only one wound, and it proved to be mortal. I don't know. I don't know the difference between superficial and a mortal wound. A mortal wound means that is that mean that you instantly die? Or does superficial mean like a scrape? He did say the penknife was superficial, but that would still kill you, wouldn't it? Like, penknives are still sharp. It's not like someone tries to cut your throat with a spoon. Be very spooky. I don't know, it's either this one or the superficial one. I guess we're just going to have to wing it. The blow is given with the right hand. It has to be right-handed if it's given by the right hand. How would you know if the killer's ambidextrous? It's so weird. I mean, I'm a lefty, but I could kill someone easily with my right hand. I think anyone could. Give me a knife and I'll put a knife in you. Dead. It's so weird. Surely if the victim's a left or right-handed person doesn't... Well, then again, I guess it would matter, wouldn't it, as evidence? You can't really imprison somebody who's left-handed if the killer's a right-handed. I don't know. Who knows? Let's have a look. So couldn't have been lying down. She must have been standing. Okay. Struck the blow from above, below, or from the same height. Oh, I actually got that right. Well. All these little fucking tabs. Amount of combinations is mind-boggling. It confuses my brains. The murderer is a lumberjack, obviously. Everyone knows that. It's a strong man. Right-handed. Right wrist is bloody. Cartoid wasn't slit, meaning it wasn't that deep, but it still killed her. Victim put her hand on her throat. A thick blade? No, it must have been thin.
We have two possibilities.
Thin or thick, it doesn't matter. It still killed the poor lady.
The killer and the attacker, seen by Schwartz, were one and the same man. The second is that Liz Stride meets a client. After some discussion, they head towards Dutfield's yard to do their business. As soon as they arrive, the attacker appears while his accomplice keeps watch. Schwartz's arrival dissuades the two men from lingering. They leave the area and leave Liz Stride in a tense state, but glad to have kept her client. He will be her murderer. Both hypotheses are possible, but an incongruous detail will serve to corroborate one of them. an incongruous detail that we were able to establish regarding the Hanbury Street murder. Which one would that be, Watson?
So basically the
Carefully,
two
Watson,
guys...
and tell me the link between the murder of Liz Stride and those of Nichols and Chapman.
Those two guys... They must have saw the, Jack the Ripper. Why would they have relations here when they know that this working man's club has foot traffic? And again, I guess if it's closed at midnight, you're not going to have people wandering through, are you? Oh, I know what it is. It's the bag of pasties, isn't it? Or pastels, or...
The bag of pastels, Holmes?
The bag of pastels. Indeed, Watson. If this woman had to defend herself against an attacker, why would she have held onto this bag in her hand? It didn't fall because this woman's hand tensed at the moment when she fell to the ground. Therefore, Watson, we know the killer distracted his victim's attention by making them take something out of their pockets. Why didn't he slit her throat like the others? He must have feared a struggle with this strong-willed woman. Why didn't he eviscerate her? Because 𝘨𝘮𝘮𝘪𝘳 arrived.
Do you think the Whitechapel killer is behind this murder, Holmes?
Yes, and now this murder has been linked to its rightful perpetrator, it will take on deeper meaning when we have examined the facts from that night. Let's go to Mitre Square, where Catherine Eddowes was killed. And make haste, Watson, as we have another murder to commit in 40 minutes. Here we are, Watson, Mitre Square. It took us a mere 20 minutes to get here. If the killer left Dutfield's yard around 1 o'clock, as we assume, he would have arrived here at around 1:20 a.m. We know that Catherine Eddowes' body was discovered at 1:44 a.m. Catherine was released from prison around 1 o'clock, but we have no information as to what she could have been doing until her death. This place has 3 possible ways out. Let's see where they lead.
That is some unfortunate
As a precaution,
shit right there, isn't it?
an old map of the area with me. It will help us get our bearings.
Let's hurry, Holmes. This neighborhood makes me ill at ease.
You know, grow up here, man. So she was released from prison, and then 40 minutes later she was murdered. That... Can I light that?
Take the lantern, Watson.
Oh, I can. Come on, lantern boy.
This is Mitre Street, from where Watkins, the constable who found the body, came.
Okay, we don't need to go that way. Right, this way. So we need to go to each of the exits. There's one here.
This dark and narrow passage leads to St. James's Place.
And then there's one up here. This area has a lot of talking.
Church Passage. It must be opposite the Imperial Club at 16 to 17 Duke Street. Let's go to the end of this lane, Watson.
I think it's the pet shop owner. The one with a really slow, boring voice. Ugh. Never shuts up in this area. Oh, here it comes. Mr. Solomonovich, which for some reason Holmes can't pronounce.
Hello, you must be Abraham Solomonovich. Am I right?
Yes.
No. At least he
but I
tried.
do. You brought a lad to my place to take care of a cat, and I loaned you my mask.
That's me. May I present?
Dr. Watson, of course. Delighted. And you? I have known for a few days that you are a detective by the name of Sherlock Holmes. Is that so?
You don't miss a thing, do you? It was the children who gave me away. Am I right?
They didn't want to, but I gained their confidence by offering them a small comb and half a cake.
They made a good deal out of it, so I don't blame them.
Really?
However, I must request, as a personal favor, that you do not reveal my identity.
You have my word. Curiosity is just killing me, as you may have guessed.
That's
Would
not
it
the
be
word you should be
breaking
using,
an
dude.
oath to confide in me the nature of the investigation that you are leading?
As if he just said, "It's killing me." That's so insensitive, man. Like, really? I do like how, like, Abraham and Isaac are literally twins. It's like they couldn't think of, how did Jewish people look like in 1888? They obviously look like this. It's so stupid. So dumb. He needs to shave the beard. It looks like it's got lice in it. As if those shitty kids dobbed me in for a fucking comb and half a cake. Like half the cake I can understand. Why the hell would they want a small comb? Why would you want that? So weird. I feel like I should be slapping those kids when I see them. Is that wrong? Especially that one who sounds like an American putting a shit British accent. Little bastard.
Does this
They're all little
where we are
bastards.
now in Mitre Square mean anything to you?
A demon lives in this city, Mr. Holmes. These unmentionable acts degrade the human race and put the Jewish community in terrible danger.
Lots of rumours are circulating, but they are but rumours. I see you're leaving the Imperial Club. It's a stone's throw away from Mitre Square, and the 2 recent murders were most probably discussed in there. Do you know if anyone from the club saw or heard anything that night?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. That night, 3 members of our club saw a woman talking to a man at the very spot where we are standing, a few minutes before the body was found at the end of this passage. Fantastic, Holmes.
Calm yourself, Watson. There is nothing at the moment to suggest it was the victim. Can we meet these members?
I am afraid that won't be possible. As soon as the police heard the evidence of these men, they were sworn to silence.
I understand.
But you are working for the good, and I must tell you what I know. One of the 3 men, my friend Joseph, left that night with 2 other members of the Imperial Club, Harry and another Joseph. It was around 1:35 a.m., perhaps a bit earlier. When Joseph, not my friend, but the other, the Aldgate butcher, exited, he saw a man and a woman in discussion at this very spot where we are.
These men must have been about 16 feet away from the couple.
That's about right. So Joseph, the butcher, said to the other 2, while pointing at the couple, "Look, I don't like going home alone when I see this kind of people here." My friend Joseph looked at them without noticing anything strange and didn't understand what he meant. They had the look of 2 rather unkempt people, but no more than that.
After the murder, did these 3 men tell the police what they had seen?
Not quite. Harry stated that he hadn't seen the couple. As for Joseph, the butcher, even though he was the one who commented on them and pointed them out, said that he couldn't remember anything except that the man was about 3 inches taller than the woman, who was 5 feet tall, no more. My friend Joseph, on the other hand, did his best to cooperate with the police.
And what did your friend Joseph say? What did this man and woman look like?
The man must have been 30 years old, about 5 foot 7 inches, light complexion, and a fair moustache. He wore a loose, dark jacket, a grey cap, and a red scarf around his neck. But he said that he only saw him for a brief instant, and it would be impossible to recognize him.
And the woman?
He only saw her from behind. She had her hand on the man's stomach and seemed to be pushing him. He said that he remembered that she was small, was wearing a black jacket and a black bonnet. After his testimony, the police took him to see the clothing of the deceased, and Joseph said that they looked identical to those of the woman he had seen. Like I already said, he only glanced at the 2, as he was headed with the others in the direction of Aldgate.
One final question. The Imperial Club is a Jewish club, isn't that correct?
Indeed.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Solomonovich.
Bah, it was nothing. We must at all cost prevent this demon from striking again, and the police seem to have some difficulty in doing that. I wish you the best of luck, Mr. Holmes.
Well, let's find the spot where Edow's body was discovered.
Thanks. Great Synagogue of London. Opens from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Damn. It's Hebrew text, isn't it? I guess it is a synagogue. Rabbi Nathan Marcus. What does Adler mean? Not the street. The only person the only name that the only thing Adler pops up in my head is Irene Adler. Isn't that like the woman that Holmes is obsessed with? Isn't that the only woman he loved? To say that when a character doesn't really physically exist. That is some weird. Why would you put these like fancy letters in your building when it's like in an alley? It's very weird. She's over here, basically.
Watson, we are now in the exact spot.
Getting distracted.
Eddowes tragically ended her days.
This
Tragically.
spot is very dark, Holmes.
That is probably why our murderer chose it.
Obviously. Stupid Watson. Watson! Sometimes I wonder, Watson. Come on, sexy lips. Got such kissable lips. Man, how weird would he look if he didn't have a mustache? I reckon he's got a mohawk under that hat. This definitely looks like a guy who wears a mohawk. Definitely. Oh. It's got a habit of arranging shit.
Do these objects spread out by the victim remind us of anything, Watson?
Don't like how it does that. That's annoying.
The inside of the thighs is clean. Once again, there were no sexual relations between the victim and her murderer.
No sperm.
A thimble is located right beside one of the victim's hands, just like Chapman's sachet of pills and Stride's pastils.
So he distracts them by making them get something out of their pocket, and then when they're distracted, he slits their throat. That's a weird way to murder somebody.
Part of this apron is missing. We will follow up on that shortly.
Wonder why he went from, like, strangling people just to then instantly cutting their throat. It's a weird... It's very weird.
The main incision goes from the sternum all the way down to the groin.
Oof.
The murderer opened this abdomen as if it were an animal carcass. A kidney was removed. The uterus was removed.
That is... So it's like just below your ribs, isn't it? Your sternum. If you get punched in your sternum, it's when you can't breathe. It happens on your back as well, doesn't it? I remember I got punched in the back one day and it knocked the wind out of me. Wow, awful feeling. Oof. Oof. Nasty.
These intestines were pulled out altogether to grant access to the abdomen.
That is some disgusting thing to do to somebody. So from the ribs all the way down to their crotch shot. That is a fucking awful thing to do to someone. Okay, so before we click on this, this is quite it's quite gruesome. So if you don't want to see somebody's face with no nose, no cheeks, and no eyelids, then yeah, you really shouldn't look at this part. I'm only warning you. I know it's not as much as we see nowadays in games, but it's still not a very nice thing to look at. Especially if you're eating your breakfast. Here we go.
The head is turned towards the left. The murderer must have been on the right side of his victim. Let's look at her from the front.
Oh, I really wish you didn't have to look. That's awful. It's really, really not nice to look at, is it?
There is but one wound, Watson. It goes from the left side and descends in a slight oblique towards the right side.
Wouldn't that be a left-handed cut then? Because before it was right to left. It was left to right, sorry, not right to left. But that's the kind of cut I would do if I was using a knife in a swipey downward motion. Ding. Yeah, because if I was right-handed, it would be from the... Right. Yeah, I don't know.
The nose was cut.
Why would you cut somebody's nose off?
The cheeks were slashed to make them thinner. The eyelids were cut off.
That's just horrible. Poor woman. Let's not look at that anymore.
My goodness, Holmes, it was a slaughter.
Obviously.
Understand, Watson, that our killer had neither the time nor the conditions to bother with the niceties. He had no more than 7 or 8
He
minutes.
did that in 7 or 8 minutes.
Open her up, and all the
Fucking
while
hell.
in total darkness.
Holmes, it's a woman, a poor victim you're talking about.
Consider all the time this man lost and the risks that he actually took by cutting the victim's face and the lower abdomen in around 20 precise spots, especially the lungs and the liver. These attacks, which I considered gratuitous, are in fact nothing of the sort, and have as much sense as the removal of the organs. Watson, we must now consult our timeline. We began in Dutfield's yard, but this time we will try to recreate the actions of certain people, in this case, those of the 2 policemen.
Well, it's like, isn't that serial killers, they evolve, don't they? It's getting, or they get bolder. As if he butchered this woman like in 7 or 8 minutes. Did all this? That's just disgusting to do to someone. Think about it. This guy was never historically captured. Like he just walked away free. What a bastard.
1:30 a.m. PC Watkins didn't see the corpse while on his rounds. If PC Watkins did his rounds properly, and there is no reason to doubt this was the case, as he discovered the corpse a quarter of an hour later, the murder hadn't yet taken place, and there was no one in Mitre Square, unless they were hidden among the shadows. Enter Mitre Square via Mitre Street, Watson, and stop and try to see me with the lantern. I will be where poor Edow's corpse was.
Okay. Get your lantern out, Watson. There you go.
I see you, Holmes.
Perfect, Watson. Let's look at our timeline, Watson.
The lantern thing seems fucking pointless. It feels like they just added some padding. The murder hadn't taken place at 1:30. Apparently.
Very good, Watson. Thus we can categorically state that the murder had not yet occurred at 1:30.
Okay. A man and a woman are in discussing the entrance to church passage. 1:35.
1:35 a.m. A man and a woman are arguing at the entrance of church passage. The man came from Aldgate.
Okay, and then PC Harvey arrives at Mitre Square at 1:42.
1:42 a.m. PC Harvey arrives in Mitre Square. It should be noted, Watson, that the constable didn't enter Mitre Square. He could not have seen the corpse lying on the ground. But would he have been able to see a man sitting or standing? Go to the church passage entrance, then come back and try to see me while holding your lantern. I will stay at the spot where the victim was discovered.
Again, seems pointless. You just walk towards Holmes. Yeah.
I see you, Holmes.
You had to proceed into the square in order to see me, something Harvey didn't do. It is possible that the killer was still there. 1:42 a.m. PC Harvey arrives at Mitre Square, but does not go in. The murderer may well have still been there.
So if he just went a bit more to where Holmes was standing, then he would have caught the murderer. That is some bullshit right there, isn't it? You're that close to the killer and you just don't even notice. Bloody shadows. 1:01.
1:44 a.m. The body is discovered. Let's put the murder of poor Eddowes on the timeline, Watson.
So she was killed between 1:35 and 1:42.
1:35 and 1:42 a.m. The murder would appear to have taken place between these times, that is to say, within 7 minutes.
7 minutes, yeah.
Holmes. But does this really prove that our killer had the time to perpetrate these 2 murders?
Let's look at our timeline, Watson.
Well, we know it takes 20 minutes to get from... Yeah, so... This is when the body was... This guy tried to pull in, so he had 20 minutes to get to... Yeah, he would have easily got there in 20 minutes, wouldn't he?
There, Watson.
Yeah.
We are now certain that the murderer really had the time to commit these 2 murders.
Incredible.
Let's look at our deduction board, Watson.
So if it didn't get interrupted murdering Liz Stride, then Catherine Eddowes wouldn't have been killed. That is, that's kind of horrible, isn't it? Get son. Right. Oh god. This is a wound in the neck. This is the same as the other bird. From the right, slightly oblique and descending, so we know that it was a fierce and instantaneous quick slash. Murder is the same. The wound is the same as this stride, so we know that. We definitely know it's right-handed. And we know that she died the same way as Liz. And we know that it could have been the same murderer. Yeah, that's all easy. The central incision goes from the sternum downwards towards the groin. And Holmes did say that her abdomen was opened up like that of an animal. A piece of her apron was cut, and the victim's items of the victim are very orderly. He is unfeeling and organized. The items are meant for a woman. The items belong to the victim. We know. Oopsie, it's the wrong thing. This one. What kind of choices are these? The murderer is a transvestite. The murderer is a fetishist. That's such a hard word to say. These two answers are just absolute nonsense. What has this whole thing got to do with the murderer if they were a transvestite? Or a fetist. I mean, that is like, I don't get it. They're obviously red herrings, but fucking hell. Why even... They should have made them a bit more confusing. It's so weird. Weird. Anyway. Thimble on the right hand besides the victim is held in her hand. Her liver and lung underwent small incisions. Her kidney and uterus were removed. Her nose was cut off. Don't know why it says cut. Her cheeks were slashed to become thinner, and her eyelids were cut. Fucking hell. Murderer knew her. He must have known anatomy. He hates kidneys. So obviously, he fucking hates kidneys. He knew anatomy.
This spot is making me nauseous.
Yeah.
Can we not head back, Holmes?
We certainly can't, Watson. We have one final point to address. Do you remember the piece of white apron that was missing just now? It was found just a few steps away from here, at the entrance of a building. That's where we must go.
Okay. Entrance to what building? Would it be in Gorson's?
Let's go.
Let's go. Is it here? Oh, okay. Really wasn't paying attention.
There's the spot, Watson. By night, Goulston Street is deathly silent. It will permit us to carry out a fair few experiments.
Yes, hopefully nobody notices us wandering around suspiciously.
And the mysterious chalk message were found.
Why would he take a piece of the apron and then write a note? I don't get the logic behind that. It's this one.
There's the spot where the apron and the message were found by PC Long.
PC
Now,
Long.
let's recreate the scene. Remember, Watson, it was raining that night. Find me something with which to mimic raindrops hitting this wall while I write something with my chalk.
Just happens to have
Jews
chalk.
are not the men that will be blamed for nothing. But what does it mean?
Have you found something for us to pour water from, Watson?
Find a container and some water. Let me remind you that it's night time and the street is deserted, Holmes.
Yeah, for some reason Watson doesn't have a spine.
That may come in handy. Who knows?
Who knows? Oh, okay.
That may come in handy. Who knows?
And this?
Old wooden pole. A merchant probably threw it out.
I remember where this is very vividly. Which is very weird. Yoink. Hopefully no one sees me do this. This is not suspicious, is it? Then we need water, which should be in this barrel in front of us. And yoink. Nice. Here you go, sir. It's all yours, master.
Have you found something?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Put your bloody water
Yes,
thing
I
on.
have, Holmes.
Bloody Holmes.
If this message were written by the killer, then it would have been lying in this entrance for up to 35 minutes before being discovered. Let's find out in what state it must have been. This message could not have withstood an entire night in the rain.
So
During
weird.
the investigations carried out on the night of the double murder, PC Hulse inspected the entrances of this street around 2:20 a.m. and confirmed to have seen nothing out of the ordinary. At 2:55 a.m., 35 minutes later, PC Long found Catherine Eddowes' piece of apron and the message in chalk. This message would not have withstood a whole night in the rain, as had I continued to water it for a little longer, I would certainly have erased it. It was written, therefore, at the moment when the piece of apron was dumped. This substantiates PC Hulse's statement, which stated he had seen neither of these during his rounds. After its discovery, it was guarded and protected from the rain, which was subsiding, which explains why it was still legible when it was erased at 5:30. My dear Watson, when you met PC Smith on his rounds in the street, where was he? On the pavement or in the middle of the road?
In the middle of the road, Holmes, without a shadow of a doubt.
Good. You will go down the street with your lantern as if you were a policeman on patrol, using Smith's position as a guide. As soon as you see the entrance where I used the watering can, tell me if you see anything.
Okay, so.
There, Holmes. From here, I can see something written.
Can
you
I?
read it?
No.
Do you see the white rag, Watson?
There.
I see something on the ground, but I'm not sure if it's what you were talking about.
PC Long, who found the piece of apron, was examining the interior of the entrances, and yet nobody would have predicted that this piece of material would be discovered on the very night of the murder by a policeman on patrol.
What are you trying to get at, Holmes?
Let's look at this message on the wall, Watson. The Jews are not the men that will be blamed for nothing. In other words, the Jews were possibly blamed for nothing, but that will no longer be the case. Reading this message naturally begs one question. What would that be, Watson?
Why?
Indeed, Watson, why? For what reason would one have the right to blame the Jews in the future? Remember, 𝘨𝘮 was killed near a club for socialist Jews, Eddowes not far from a synagogue and the Imperial Club, and finally, this piece of apron dropped here. This building is occupied by Jewish families. The killer really did go out of his way to incriminate the Jews living in the area.
It's a bit obvious, Holmes.
Yes, but with the rumors, Watson, the author of this message would have received a response to his strategy.
You are right, Holmes. So perhaps it's a good thing this message was erased.
Whoever took the decision to do this is a man of great wisdom and courage. Let's return to Baker Street, Watson. I have some pipes to smoke to help me think more clearly.
Let's go
Blaze
it up, doesn't it?
Home, sweet home.
Home, sweet Sherlock Holmes. Guess I'll have the map there. Home.